Hello everyone, and welcome to more stories from r/IDontWorkHereLady. In the first one, Karen makes the mistake of messing with an off-duty police officer. In the second one, a mean patient in a hospital thinks another patient is a nurse. The third one is about a flock of wild Karens thinking OP is a waiter. And in the last one, OP is not afraid to seriously tell someone off. And if you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe and the mighty wizard frog will grant you 3 wishes. This story is titled, Oops, Karen Meets Off-Duty Cop. Hello everyone, just figured I would share something that happened to me some time back. Let me set the stage. I was in one of the big home improvement chain stores. You know, the one with the big blue logo of a house. There's a few people involved. Me, of course, other customer, manager, and of course, Karen. First, I was in a bit of a hurry as I had a pretty busy schedule that day and just wanted to get in and out as quickly as possible. I walked around for what seemed like forever, pacing every aisle, and I could not find what I was looking for. By the way, just a common water filter from what I recall. I also did not come across any employees out of our floor, as the only ones I saw were checking people out. I walked down one aisle and saw a Hispanic man. Race will be relevant later. He was grabbing some items off the shelf. He's clearly not an employee, as he is well dressed in nice jeans and a polo. The only reason he first gave me pause was the radio on his belt, but I clearly figured out it was not one from the store, as they use some kind of smartphone looking radio. In desperation, I said, hell, he might know where my item is maybe. He had the swagger of a man who has clearly been in this store a few times. So we begin. I say, excuse me sir, I know you don't work here, but by any chance, do you have any idea where the water filters are? They seem to have moved them again, and I cannot locate any employees. Other customer laughs and says, I know, I think they only keep one employee at a time to work the entire store. I respond, I know, it gets very frustrating. Those corporate folks are always looking for a way to save a buck and kill customer service in the process. Other customer responds, sad but so true. Yeah, I just picked up some water filters the other day. Here, let me show you where they moved to. Oh, thank you. You really don't have to. Just point me in the direction. I'm sure I can get it from there. We continue small talk as I followed him to the location and he pointed me down the aisle directly at the item. At this point, we're both just standing in front of the store, facing down the aisle, when from the distance, we hear, Hey, you! Jose, Juan, Carlos. She muttered about half a dozen Spanish names. Me and the other customer did not realize she's hollering at us. We're just finishing up our BSing. Karen's now standing right behind us and gets right up to other customer's ear, and not kidding, about 2 inches away. She says, didn't you hear me holler for you? I need some assistance. Do you speak English? I turn around, seeing the typical soccer mom Karen that was dressed like she was about to go out on a night on the town, and was well out of place in a hardware store. Other customer says, I'm sorry ma'am, I don't work here, but I can help you with something. I'm guessing Karen did not hear the I don't work here part, and she goes off on a rant. She says, you effing lazy Mexicans. She said a few more racial slurs. I've been hollering for you for a while, and you can help your own kind out, but not if they're white. I'm confused, as I'm white and getting pretty angry at this point, as I have already spent longer in here than I wanted to, and now I'm dealing with this. So I say, excuse me, but you need to calm the F down, B-word. Other customer, in a forceful manner, swipes his arm across my chest and to push me backward, in the I got this fashion. Still playing it all calm, cool, and collected. He says, I am sure if you can calm down for 1 minute, we can get this resolved. Can you please tell me about your problem? Karen responds, my problem is all you lazy Mexicans, taking all the jobs and not wanting to work. Where is your damn manager? Me not knowing when to shut up, I say under my breath, but still audible. Karen lunges for me and slaps me right across my face hard as hell. Other customer, like some kind of ninja, grabs Karen's arm and spun her around so fast, all I saw was her face planted on the floor with a knee in her back. While holding one of Karen's arms, he grabs his radio and makes a call requesting an officer to our location. The store manager comes running to see what all the fuss and screaming was about, and says, get off that lady right now, we have called the cops. Other customer by this time has already put away his radio and had the badge in his hand, and flashes it to manager. He says, I have already called for a car. He then looks at me with one of those please say yes looks and asks, would you like to press charges? I say, of course I do, as I rub my face. And I am not kidding, I have not been hit that hard in years, and I swear I saw stars. Other customer slowly got Karen back up to her feet, and you can tell by this point she knows she has messed up bad, as she just stood there and did not say a word. The store manager says, can you tell me what happened? Other customer then told the whole story. A few minutes later, the patrol car arrived. Then other customer, manager, Karen, and the other cop moved outside the store. I stayed back and decided to go grab my filters while they get it all sorted out. As I walk out the store, I see Karen being loaded up in the back of the car in handcuffs. Let me tell you, that was very satisfying to see. Other customer had me sign some stuff when he noticed my last name, and we found out he is good friends with a lot of my family. That is just instant karma. If she hadn't slapped OP, she would have just been able to walk away, even after having made all those disgusting racist remarks, which I feel kinda dirty even having read out loud, to be honest. I sure hope no one takes that audio and uses it out of context someday. And that off-duty cop has the patience of an angel. He was still so kind and willing to help her, even after she spoke to him so rudely like that. That's definitely the kind of qualities you want to see in a police officer. So good on that guy. These guys in the comments said, "This is so perfect. The only thing missing is her having to explain to her family why she got arrested. Wish I could be a fly on the wall for that conversation." Someone responds to that, "She'll just try to spin it so it was all somebody else's fault, and how she was falsely accused, and how she's going to sue the cop, the police department, the OP, the store, the manager, corporate, the company that made the water filters, the company that made the cop car, the company that made the police radio, and any other bystanders who just happened to go to the hardware store that day." Yeah, that's pretty accurate. With these kinds of people, it's never their fault, and they will go to extreme lengths to try to place blame on anything and everyone else. This one's called "Mistaken for a Nurse While in Urgent Care." First of all, I love this subreddit. Secondly, I am someone who spent more time in hospital this year than out of hospital, which unfortunately is somewhat normal for me. Thirdly, I read a similar story yesterday which inspired me to finally post this. Onto the story, I unfortunately had to spend 6 days in urgent care last week, and they ultimately ended up putting me on an all-female ward as the hospital was overflowing with COVID patients, and they didn't have any single bedrooms anymore. I completely understand, and I really want to emphasize with everyone who is suffering from this and their families, it's an awful pandemic. They would normally never put me with other people as I suffer from epileptic seizures, and they try to not inflict medical trauma on patients who then have to witness this. I actually had an elderly lady moved from my ward as she kept saying I was possessed by the devil, which I feel really bad about still. I was in a room with a Karen, probably in her mid-40s or early 50s, who was very rude and demanding to the nurses who had to keep up with her. I'm not sure why she was in, but she was walking around and talking on the phone quite a bit. Every single time a nurse walked past though, she would start screaming in agony, demanding water, a yogurt, or something else. She also pressed the emergency button on her bedside multiple times, and then yelled at the nurse that she was taking way too long, when all she wanted was a tea or something. The worst part was that she kept staring at me and talking about me on the phone to her other Karen friend, saying that young people can't even be ill, and so on. So one morning, as she kept hitting that emergency button, moaning around, I got concerned that something was actually wrong with her, so I just asked if she was okay. She then told me to get up and cover her feet with the blankets, as she was cold. I was very dizzy at the time, but she made me feel uncomfortable, so I actually did. I then went back to bed and almost fainted. After that, she kept asking me for help, get her some water, help her get up, etc. I ended up telling her that I'm not a nurse. She then proceeded to yell at me, calling me all sorts of names, saying I was faking an illness, and I'm a little brat for not helping her, and deserve to be punished for this. The nurses told her off for that quite badly, and she ended up being moved. Either way, that was my Karen who insisted that other patients play nurse for her story. There really is a lot of mistaken for nurse stories on this sub. It seems to happen quite often for whatever reason. I actually have an I Don't Work Here Lady video that is all mistaken for nurse stories. It'll be in a card at the corner of the screen if you're interested. This story's titled, "We'll Have Another Round." A couple of years ago, a few of us were at a craft beer restaurant. It's small, and the owners actually operate the place. Cooking, taking orders, serving pitchers, and getting to know people. One day, I'm coming back from placing my order at the counter. The place has never had waiters or waitresses, and everyone knows or learns pretty quickly you have to order from the counter. Somehow it works. So I'm walking back, and a table of 4 older Karens are doing their thing. One of them starts saying, excuse me, then starts snapping her fingers at me, and the come here motion. First thing out of my mouth is, I don't work here. And of course, she knows everything and rolls her eyes. She starts off the drink orders, so I kept saying, as they put in their new orders. One of them actually asked me why I wasn't writing it down. I just said, I'll remember. As the last one is almost finished talking, I can see my pitcher is being brought over to my table, so I say to them that their drinks will be there shortly. I turn and walk to my table and sit down. Everyone was just looking at me, waiting for me to tell them what I was freaking doing. I said I took their drink orders. We just watched them sitting there as the energy started shifting to impatience and frustration. The owner stops by their table and asks how everything is going. They start letting him have it, saying how it's been 15 minutes and they haven't even been served the drinks yet. Long story shortened, they say, "Well, we put in an order with your waiter." He says, "We don't have wait staff." So she calls him a liar and is saying, "I'll find him." She looks around and finally sees me. Her face changed colors a little. I actually gave her a smile and a cheers, knowing she has an empty drink. I should have blew her a kiss. This next one is titled, Scaring Off an Entitled B-Word. First off, I have a terminal illness, so I'm dying. No commiserations, please. Because of that, I decided not to suffer fools and idiots a while back, probably because I'm very angry about it. I would like to point out I haven't had a fight in over 26 years. So I'm in Bunnings. It's an Australian hardware chain, think Walmart, but for hardware and gardening. I was looking for what I wanted, and a woman with her husband demanded, it was the tone of her voice, where the brass hose fittings were. Without turning around, I said I didn't know. She put her hand on my shoulder and tried to turn me around. I'm over 6 foot and around 15 stone and big with it, so good on her for balls. So I turned around and she got up into my face and started shouting things at me. If we both didn't have masks on, spit would have been flying into my face. I said, "Get the F out of my face, you cobwebbed C-word, or I will take both of your effing eyes out." She literally ran backwards out of the aisle with her husband trying to keep her upright. I don't know what they did, but I walked to an exit, got back to my car and went home. I gotta commend this person for their very creative and colorful insult. And that's the end of our stories for today. If you enjoyed, show the video some love by dropping a like, and subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you for watching, everyone. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you next time.